Hey guys, that's Matt for Creative. Today, we're talking about the election. I've been trying to make videos on the election, on voting, on many different things for a while now, and whenever I start, I just can't figure out exactly where to go, in what direction to do. And I know here we are on October 29th, things are coming down to the wire. If you didn't know, I live in New York, so this is one of the center stages for activism, for rallies, for protests, for a lot of things. If you've probably seen some of my previous videos, I've been covering the Black Lives Matter. Most recently, I have been to, and I've recorded at Trump rallies. And I saw a couple, one at Herald Square, which is kind of small, and on the opposing side of the street in which this rally was taking place, there was a Biden rally. So it's literally one on one street and one on the other, and it was just, you could see how polarizing it was. And it wasn't just kind of people yelling back and forth, and it felt like more. I felt the hate from either side, and it just, it's really, like a lot of people have been saying, there's no middle ground. It's either you're for one side, you're the other. And even times when I try to rationalize things in general, not one party, not the other party, not one side of an issue or another one, there's always people commenting on, oh, you such and such, you just focus on one thing, you like what I like, and that's it. And I know exactly where I lie on things, and if you've seen the videos that I've been making, you probably know which side I lie on. It's so much more than what I think is right. It's about what is going to happen, what people will have to deal with, where either Biden wins or Trump wins. The country is going to have to make adjustments. Now, just for saying, if Trump wins, the activism most likely, it's not going to stop. It needs to progress and continue so that things will work in the favor of the activists. And if Biden wins, sorry, I have a light over there, changes color. If Biden wins, the activism also should not stop, because if you are an activist for, let's say, somebody maybe against police brutality, that's still going to be a thing. It's not going to go away whether your candidate wins or loses. It's something that just needs to go on. The discussions need to continue, and things need to progress in the way that you want them. I believe that your experiences shape your view on life a lot. So you do have to remember that. People have different experiences than you, and you have to make sure that you can find yourself being correct in one thing. You can go by the facts, you can go by what you see, but again, it's only what you see. There is so much more out there that you need to focus on, that you need to make sure you're keeping relevant. This is why when two opposing rallies are side by side and they're just yelling, absolutely nothing is getting done. I was at a Trump rally in Times Square where both sides were yelling at each other, and it did descend into violence, I think about 7 different times, and this is before I left, and I was recording for about maybe 40 minutes to an hour. And it's just things like this, you have to make sure that things don't get more polarized than they already have, because that helps nobody. There most likely is not going to be a civil war going on, so we're going to have to deal with the people that live next to us, whether they like us, whether they think like us, whether they've had the same experiences as you or not. This needs to happen. People, I think the one thing that people need to do is they need to exit their comfort zone, they need to exit their bubble, and they need to speak to people. Not yell at people, not just go back and forth on Facebook, although maybe they could, but something like that is too quick. I've never been a fan of texting or emailing. It's not something that you can get the connotation from people. It's like you have to wait for a response. It's too much. Having a one-on-one in person will allow you to see, hey, this guy is maybe being a little bit sarcastic on this issue. But then, if I mention something like this, you can see, they're kind of making this face. So while they may be okay with something, but while they say they're okay with something, maybe they're not. Having face-to-face interactions, or maybe something by phone, that is great. That is something that needs to be done more, because people are in their bubbles. When they're on Facebook, when they're on Instagram, when they're on any social media, they get more and more inside their own little bubbles, and maybe that's all they see. Because when I was growing up, I experienced life in elementary school, middle school, high school, and college, and I had experiences with people that were from different ways of life, and every time I found myself learning more and more. I've seen myself as an observer, and I like learning a lot. Maybe not the traditional way of learning like in school, but I like learning through experiences. That really expands my way of thinking. So I've met a lot of people that have different values than I do, that think differently from me. It's just something extremely interesting that I can use towards the future. And I'm always looking towards the future. I'm 31 now, and I'm still looking towards the future, because I think that there's never going to be a time when, at least for me, that I'm just going to stop and say, okay, I've learned enough, and now I'm going to put it on to practice. No, I'm just going to continue learning, and I'm just going to continue putting things into practice. And it'll just continue over and over again. And I hope this is what people do as well. They just continue to learn and continue to expand their knowledge. I think the worst thing that you can do is to live in a bubble, to think what you think is correct all the time. While you think you have all the facts, you're always going to be missing something. There's going to be some outlier. There's going to be something that you miss. There's going to be something that you yourself can't experience, because maybe it takes a certain type of person to experience it in a way that would speak volumes compared to the way maybe you have seen it. So, again, it's very hard for me to get into the specifics of voting and the election. Of course, make sure you vote. At this time, it is probably too late, being October 29th, to mail in your vote. So please make sure you vote in person. There are a lot of early voting polling stations open, so please do so. I think it's very important that whichever side you are on, you make sure to vote, because that will let everyone in the country and the entire world know where the United States as a whole stands. Now, I know there's the Electoral College. It's not 100% about the amount of votes and the popular vote. There is the Electoral College that you have to deal with in thinking about presidential elections. So even if your candidate loses the popular vote and the other candidate, even if your candidate wins the popular vote, but the other candidate wins the Electoral College votes, then there's always going to be some kind of controversy. You're going to have to go with it. I've heard a lot of people say, if my candidate doesn't win, I'm leaving the country. Hey, if you want to leave, you can leave. That's perfectly fine. There's other countries out there, and each of those countries has their own issues that they are dealing with too. So you're not going to just go there and pretend like everything is fine in these other countries. There's a reason why people want to come to America, because even with the problems that we've seen recently and all the problems that have been here with America over the years, It's still a place of more or less freedom than other places, and it's just some place that you can get things done. Why I like this country so much is the more that I work, the more effort that I put into something, the more results that I see. And that's why I think whether or not my candidate wins or loses, I'm sticking here. I'm going to make sure that I fight for what I believe in, and outside of that, I'm going to continue my professional career. I'm going to continue delving into politics, and I'm going to do the best that I can do to push my influence on others, because at the end of the day, that's literally what is happening. You are pushing your influence, whichever way that you want it to go, onto other people, unless you maybe are standoffish and don't do so, but a majority of the people are doing so. I think that you work and you live your life to push the needle one way or the other, and hopefully it's not just, one way or the other. You push things forward in the way that you want them to be done. And next generation, hopefully you have somebody to pass that along to, and if not, then hopefully you've done enough in the world where collectively things move in that direction, and then generations down the line, hopefully your ideas more or less become the reality that most people see. That's the way that I live my life, because I know that once I'm not here anymore, things will still be happening, things still need to be done, the world needs to continue moving, and hopefully it moves forward in the way that I want it to. So I don't believe in really giving up if my candidate doesn't win. I feel like it's more, I feel like I want, like it doesn't matter if my candidate wins or loses. I'm still going to have to push my sphere of influence to and around others, because I feel like it's important. I feel like I have balanced thoughts, and I think that the way that I think, which I can always speak about more in future videos, I think it's very relevant. But hopefully you think the exact same way too, and maybe we can work together. Maybe we'll be on opposing sides, but it's always good to have people on your side and people that maybe you are they're not on your side, to put it simply, because you're going to learn more interacting with both. You're going to learn more about yourself, you're going to learn more about human nature and just nature, and it will help you as a person and help humans and people and things everywhere. Alright guys, tomorrow I will try my best to make a more centered video on voting or politics or living in New York around this time. But if you have any questions or comments, put it in the comment section below. Don't forget, I'm on Instagram at m8b9. You can email me at matt8b9@gmail.com. And I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.